DVD player, and he was up the front giving the cashier grief, trying to get his money back. And Phil was in the line, and he obviously heard him kicking off in his English accent. And James said he kept seeing this big blob of blue hair, kept on popping its head out and having a look to see what was going on. And when James was leaving, Phil got out in front of him and was like, "You're a musician, aren't you?" And James was like, "Yeah." And Phil was like, "Well, do you know where I am?" And James was like, "Yeah, I know who you are." And then from that conversation, they decided to start a band the following week. So it was a chance encounter, and yeah,
we've got
how it all kicked off.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. We've got the band Little Villians. They join us today here on our big program. Thanks for joining us here on our Sunday radio show. And, of course, we are live, as live can get, 2 Central, 3 Eastern, 12 Pacific, and 1 p.m. Mountain Standard. And we kick off with Little Villians today here on our big broadcast. So tell me a little bit about your writing process and how you guys prepare your music and all these things.
Well, we're based on 2 different sides of the world. So half the band are over in the UK, and the other, well, there's only 3 of us. So 2 of us are over in the UK, and James is over in Los Angeles. So we quite often put little demos together. So me and Owen will get together and put down like guitar and drums and send it to James. James will put down his ideas in his studio and send it to us. And then we kind of work on each other's songs and send them back with our versions of them. And it works really well, actually, because it gets the input from all the band. And then once we've got demos made up, we all usually go out to Los Angeles to record the kind of final takes of the songs. So because of where we're located on opposite sides of the Atlantic, that's the way we work. But it works really well for us. It's kind of a bit different from most bands, I think.
It is Little Villians. They join us today here on our big program, and you're joining us each and every Sunday here on The Mix. Also, 990 WBOB out there in Rhode Island, of all places. And, of course, we've got the fantastic band Little Villians with us today. So tell me about the name Little Villians.
Do you know what? I don't actually know why the band's called Little Villians. I think it was one of Phil's ideas, but obviously I took over on drums after he passed on. So I don't know where it came from. That's the honest truth of the matter. I don't know. You have to get James on here and ask him.
That is fantastic. It is Little Villians with us today. They join us live here on our big, big broadcast. So you guys have got some incredible music out there. Tell me a little bit about some of the different themes and some of the different things that you cover in your music.
A lot of it's based on kind of real life, and the most recent record we've done is called Battle of Britain, and there's quite a few songs about planes on there, and that's because James's family have a history in aviation. So he was like Lemmy and some of the other guys from Motorhead. James is very interested in kind of the history of World War II. So we've got a song on there called Messerschmitt and a song on there called Spitfire. But James's dad also designed the bits of metal that hold the wings on a Boeing 747. He worked on Concorde and various Airbus projects. So there's a lot of history of aviation within the band. So we tend to do quite a few songs about planes. But aside from that, it's like the usual stuff rock and roll's about: sex, drugs, rock and roll, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Little Villians with us today. They join us live here on 990 WBOB out there in Rhode Island. Also, the Mix on Tuesdays. Little Villians are with us. So this band, Little Villians, how do we find you guys online and support your music and everything?
We've got a website called thelittlevillains.com. We're on Spotify and iTunes and Bandcamp and all the kind of usual places that you'd expect to find music. We've got quite an active YouTube channel as well. We do lots of fun videos. They tend to be a bit tongue-in-cheek with the rock and roll theme going on. So yeah, if all the links are on our website. So thelittlevillains.com, that's the best place to best place to start.
Fantastic. LittleVillains.com is the official website. Go over there, check that out. It is Little Villains, and they join us here on our big broadcast. So social media, what kind of feedback or criticism or whatever you get from folks on social media?
Most of the time it's fairly positive, thankfully. We've had a few negative bits of feedback about the latest album, but that was from people that were expecting a concept album all about the Battle of Britain, and that was never the intention of the record. You know, Little Villains is a fun rock band. We have fun with music, and we make the rock. But for the most part, people seem to really love it because it's got that kind of old school classic rock and metal feel to it. A lot of people compare it to Motorhead. Some people say it's got like a punky influence. It's got a bit of AC/DC in there, a bit of Iron Maiden. It's got all sorts from that era.
Fantastic. Little Villains with us today. So Spitfire is a great track. Tell me a little bit about Spitfire. We're going to play it here in a few moments.
Awesome. It's one of my favorite tracks, actually. It absolutely rocks on, and it's got very few lyrics in it, so it's largely instrumental. And it was actually written a very long time ago, back in the late 1980s, believe it or not. Me and James both play in another band called Airbus, and it was one of our first tunes with that. So you could call it a cover version, but on Battle of Britain, the whole of Airbus are playing on the tune, as well as all of Little Villains. So it's a bit of a rock masterpiece.
Fantastic.
I guess I'm a bit biased.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to do this. I'm going to place you on a brief hold here on Skype. We're going to play Spitfire, and we'll be right back with more from Little Villains. They join us here on our big program. Little Villains with Spitfire. I figured they'd yell Spitfire one more time. Apparently not. It is the big broadcast. Thanks for joining us today here, coast to coast, border to border. It is iHeartRadio. It is also TalkShoe. If you want to get our podcasts, they are available at TalkShoe. I can say podcasts on this program. Sunday radio show. We go back to Chris from Little Villains, joins us live here on our big, big program. That, of course, was Spitfire. And Chris joins us back here via the magic of the old skip Skype. Yes, the Skype, Rooney. And, of course, Little Villains. They are fantastic. They just amazing stuff. They have been compared to AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Motorhead, and they're amazing. Little Villains with us today. They join us live, coast to coast and border to border. So you guys have put together a lot of great music. What are some of your goals over the next 6 months or so?
We have just finished demoing up a new record. So we're coming over to America in February to record that. And then we're hoping to tour, hopefully in both March and June, in the UK and Europe. So that's the kind of immediate goals. And then beyond that, we'll just be taking over the world, you know?
That's awesome. That is awesome. So what is some of the feedback people give you on your music once they hear it? Because you've got some incredible stuff here.
Yeah, well, if you look at there's a good video on YouTube for Spitfire, actually, the track you just played. And a lot of people use it for working out because it's quite fast-paced and intense. So I guess it's good gym music. That's what we've been told.
That's awesome. It is Little Villains, and they join us today here in our broadcast. Now, one of the pieces of press material that I got has this Little Villains Battle of Britain with you guys in, like, aviator outfits. Talk to me a little bit about this.
Well, that was actually, it's kind of artwork and photos put together from an airfield which James's brother owns down in Somerset in the UK. It's called Western Zoyland, and they've got a lot of very old aeroplanes there from the kind of right through from First World War through to more modern planes. And they rebuild them down there, and we've shot quite a few videos down there, and the aviator gear is all out of this very old Nissan hut, which is like an old World War II hut that they used to use on airfields, which they've rebuilt down there. So it's some of the gear that his brother's got in their hangar, which is basically, it's like a museum full of old planes and stuff like that. It's a fascinating place.
That is amazing. It is Little Villains. They join us today here on 990 WBOB. Also, the mix on Tuesdays, and you can find us each and every day over there at JIGGYJAGUAR.com. So one of the things that you guys have got out here is some incredible music. We are going to play The Last. Tell us about this track.
It's another one inspired by war, really, and the history of World War II. If you listen to the lyrics, hopefully it will become apparent. And in the middle bit, there's a nice Iron Maiden-esque guitar solo, which is one of my favorites.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to do this. I'm going to place you on a brief hold once again here on the old skip Skype. We're going to play the track, and we're going to come back and wrap things up here with Chris from Little Villains. They join us here on our big, big program. And, of course, you can join us each and every day over there at JiggyJaguar.com. Also, the mic.fun. The Last, it is right now. That is the last Little Villains. They join us live today here on our big broadcast. We're going to go back live to our guests as we wrap things up here with Little Villains. And we go back live to Little Villains. They, of course, join us. Chris from Little Villains with us here on our big program. So, as we wrap up here with you guys, what is next for the band? Because we only have like 2 months left here in the year. I know you mentioned you guys are going to be doing some tours and some new music, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing that, and we're putting a couple of final videos together for Battle of Britain. We released one recently, which was for the Boy Next Door song, and the next one we're doing is Mush. We filmed it. We've just got to finish cutting it together and do the animation on it. So busy with videos till Christmas. New record in the new year, taking over the world by the end of 2023.
That is fantastic. You guys are amazing. So, before we let you go, how do people get your music, support your music, everything?
If you look at thelittlevillains.com, there are links to our Spotify, to Bandcamp, to YouTube, to iTunes, to all the different streaming platforms that use us. Or you can buy CDs and vinyl through our website as well.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for making some time for us. Thanks for coming on the big program and chatting with us. And we will talk to you soon. Thanks for being with us, man. I really appreciate the time, and look forward to chatting with you soon. Thanks for doing this, brother.
No problem at all. Thank you for your awesome show.
Thank you. There he goes. That's Chris from Little Villains. They join us today here on our big program. So we are going to take a timeout. When we come back, we have got more.